Hi, I'm Donna Jordan from Jordan Fabrics. Today we're going to be sewing a patchwork table runner. Now this is made from our pre-cut kit. It includes all the fabrics, pre-cut pieces, borders, beautiful backing fabric, everything you need to make this gorgeous runner. This is the patchwork kit, so everything is in this little package. All the directions. These fabrics are from Robert Kaufman's Holiday Flourish collection. They have metallic gold accents and they're just beautiful. Now we'll open the package and get started sewing. I've opened up my package and laid out all the pieces that are in it. These are the patchwork log cabin pieces, borders, backing. So I've put the pieces in the order in which I'm going to sew them in. Every kit comes with a colored number picture that corresponds to the pieces here. So we've got the centerpiece here, piece number 1, piece number 2. So we're going to use this to pick up the pieces and stitch the patchwork blocks together. When the blocks are all done, they look like this. We do have a video that tells you in more detail how to sew these blocks together, and you can see the link in our description below the video. Now I've completed stitching all 4 log cabin blocks together. I've given them a nice ironing. All my seam allowances are laying down flat, and you can see these all have 1/4 inch seams. All of our patchwork is cut using 1/4 inch seams. Now I'm going to stitch the blocks together and put the borders onto the runner. As I stitch the blocks together, I'm just going to give this a finger press so that that seam allowance lays nice and flat. When we get all 4 blocks together, we will take it to the ironing board and give it a nice steam pressing. Now I've just followed the picture in the directions for the layout of the blocks. Of course, with log cabin, you do have options, so maybe you want all your blocks facing the same way. You could put yours together however you like. So we recommend making the blocks, laying them out, look at the picture, of course, that's included, but then you get to decide how you want to put them together. Now I've got all 4 blocks together, and I'm just going to put the short borders on each end. Now these are cut exactly to the length you need. They will fit right on the patchwork. Again, finger press that open. And we're going to put the other end border. Fits right on the end there. Now the runner is ready for the long side borders. So right now it's a good idea to take this to your ironing board and iron it really nice and flat before you stitch the long borders on. Okay, I've got all my blocks together, I've got my end borders on, and I've ironed it nice and flat, and I'm ready to put the long side borders on. Now these long borders are cut a little bit longer than what you're going to need. So I'm going to just move it off the end a little bit there, and we'll trim it flush with the edge of the runner when we're done. Now since it's ironed nice and flat, my seam allowances are laying down exactly where I want them to be, and I'm just lining this long border up right along the edge. Now you can take your scissors, sharp pair of scissors, and just cut this right off even with the edge. And then where we started, same thing. You can flip it over, just trim that right even with the edge. Now we'll do the same thing with the other border, and then we will first finger press it open, seam allowances going towards the border, and then we'll take it to our iron and we'll actually press it nice and flat. I've ironed my runner top really flat. It really helps with the later steps if you steam press it really flat. Now I'm going to make the ends pointed off. This is an optional step. Some people like to keep the runner with the straight ends. I like to do the ends pointed, so I'll show you how to do that. Working from the back side, using your preferred marking tool, I like to use chalk, we are going to measure over 4 inches from the end of the runner on each edge here. Make a little mark. Then we're going to mark the very middle of the tip of the runner here. You can also just fold it in half and do a little finger press there if you want to get a line. Now I'm going to draw a line between those 2 little marks I've made. You can then use your scissors to cut the edges off, or you can use your cutting blade. And we're going to do the same thing on the other end, which I've already marked. Now I've laid out my batting, my backing with the right side up, and my patchwork runner top right side down. I'm using Hobbs 80% cotton, 20% polyester batting here, but you can use whatever batting you like. We usually use a low loft batting or a quilter's fleece so that the runner will lay nice and flat on the table. Now I'm going to pin around the edges. So I'm just pinning through all the layers here so I can take it to my sewing machine without anything moving. And I'm going to stitch around the edges. I'm going to stitch a 1/4 inch from all of the edges. And I'm going to leave an opening that I can flip the runner right side out through. I'm ready to sew my runner front to back, so I'm going to use a 1/4 inch seam. So I'm just stitching a 1/4 inch in from the edge of the top of the runner. So start about 12 inches from the end. You want to back tack a little at the beginning just to get a good lock. Take my pins out as I go. Make sure everything is nice and even. So I'm going to stitch all the way around. I'm going to pivot when I come to the corner. Now I'm coming to the last part of the sewing, and remember you need to leave an opening here. So I like to leave about 6 or 7 inches, about this big. So I'm just going to stitch down here. Back tack a little, and now we're done. So we've got a nice opening here. We're going to trim around the edges and then we're going to turn it right side out. So we're going to take this back to our cutting table and trim off the excess batting and backing. Now we're going to trim off the excess backing and batting. We're going to trim these 2 layers so that they are even with our top. I like to use scissors for this step. Of course, you can use your blade if you prefer. So just right along the edge of the top. It also helps if you trim off a little bit of the excess seam allowance there at the points. It doesn't have to be real close to your stitching, but it makes it easier to get those points nice and pointy after you flip it. So I'm just going to trim all the way around, right even with the top. Trim a little bit of the corner. So again, I'm just trimming a little bit of the tip off of each corner there. Now this can just all go out of the way. Now we're going to flip our runner right side out. So you want to go between the top and the back. Go all the way down to the end and just flip it right side out. Reach in this side, flip it right side out. Now put one hand inside the runner and just poke those corners out using your fingernail. It's not a real severe corner, so it's pretty easy to get flat. And then I just press it with my hand there. That keeps that corner nice and neat. There are tools you can get for making a nice pointy corner, but since this angle isn't real extreme, it stays pretty flat on its own. Same thing at the other end. One hand inside, press it out, squish it flat. Now the runner is turned right side out. Now, it's hard to get it really, really flat just with your hands here. So here's what we do. We flip it over and we have a little bit, see how the backing is in a little and the top border is around the back? You can take your fingernail and finger press this flat. Just disregard where the opening is, but just finger press that flat, and you can do the same thing on this side. So this is making that seam allowance lay nice and flat, and I'll do that all the way along the edges there. Then I'm going to hand press it. You can see my seam is right in the middle. You want that seam where you sewed it front to back right along the edge. And if you do that method first, where you open it up and go like this first, you can get that really, really flat. And just don't worry about the opening right now. Now the ends usually will lay flat without you finger pressing, but you can do that if you like. So you notice I'm pressing it flat from the back side. That really helps. So I'll do this all the way along the back side. Then you can flip it over, get our scraps out of there, and you can feel that it's just really, really flat all along there. Now we're all ready to start quilting it. There's several methods for stitching up the opening. You could whip stitch it by hand. I usually edge stitch all the way around the edge of the runner, and that closes it up at the same time. Now I've kind of finger pressed my seam allowances in there. You can put some pins in if you like. So we are going to edge stitch, and we're going to do it from the back side. This is really important because it helps keep that seam right in the middle, this seam here, when you stitch it from the back side. So I'm going to edge stitch about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the runner. So that was where the opening was. It's completely stitched up now. Now I'm going to go all the way around the runner like that, making sure my seam is right in the middle, and it helps if you hold a little bit of tension. So I'm actually holding the runner out kind of flat here as I stitch. So I'm just putting a little bit of tension on it, and that keeps it nice and flat, and it keeps that seam right in the middle. So I'm going to stitch all the way around the runner like that. See how that gives it a nice flat edge? I've finished edge stitching all the way around the edge of the runner. Now at this point you can just quilt it as desired, however you like. I quilted in the ditch. I went around the border here, I went between the blocks, and then I just went around this square, around this square, and around the center square. Now if you like this kit, there's a link below in the description so you can buy it at jordanfabrics.com. This is Holiday Flourish 2016. It also comes in other colors. So this is the same Holiday Flourish collection, but this has silver accents, black and red. Again, comes with the backing, beautiful poinsettia fabric. We also have quilt kits available. So this is Holiday Flourish in the quilt kit. We have jagged edge table runner kit available. We have lots of different kits available. We have lots of fabrics available, and you can find them all at jordanfabrics.com. Thank you so much for watching our video today on making the log cabin patchwork table runner. Be sure to press the like button below if you've enjoyed watching it, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see lots of other videos. If you're ever in Grants Pass, Oregon, we would love to have you come by our shop. There's a link below to our website, jordanfabrics.com, where you can purchase all of our kits and fabrics.